are times when Joe Rogan completely smashed woke culture.
LGBTQ plus AI, whatever the fuck it is. You don't think you're born a man?
No.
I think we're getting silly. There's no reason to give kids hormones.
We'll start with Adam Conover, who had a heated argument with Joe Rogan over trans children. It all started with Joe asking Adam about his opinion on trans athletes.
How do you feel about trans athletes?
Sports with trans athletes, that is a sporting world that I'm more interested in.
Adam says that he doesn't see anything wrong with trans athletes, to which Joe disagrees.
There's a reason why we make the distinction to have male athletics versus female athletics. The reason is that males have a physiological advantage over women, and then they're competing with smaller people who have been a woman their whole life. It's not fair.
Joe firmly disagrees with Adam, stating that allowing trans athletes to compete creates an unfair balance and should be considered cheating.
It's as much cheating as taking steroids when the other person doesn't, or taking performance-enhancing drugs when the other person doesn't, maybe even more so.
Well, I disagree, and I've...
What do you disagree about?
I've already... Well, my main point being the one that I already made, right? That, like, I don't think that there is such a thing as a perfectly level playing field. I think we decide what kind of playing field we want to have.
Sure, but we do make the distinction where we don't allow men to compete in women's divisions.
And I think that distinction may be breaking down a bit.
While Adam believes the distinction between gendered sports is breaking down, Joe continues to push back on this idea by asking a very simple question.
So you think that males should be able to compete in the women's division of weightlifting?
No, I don't necessarily.
But they can if they transition.
Well, first of all,
This question left Adam at a complete loss for words, but he wasn't ready to give up yet. So he pivoted, claiming that people who transition when they are kids don't have any real advantage or disadvantage when it comes to sports.
You're seeing folks transition much earlier age, and so if someone is transitioning from the age of 7 years old, right, and working with those hormones, from that age, right, they're not going to have their body situation is going to be very different than the one that you postulated, right.
While Adam says that kids transitioning earlier in their life makes things fair, Joe pushes back on the very idea of kids being able to receive hormones.
There's no reason to give kids hormones, and there's no reason to decide before a person's frontal lobe is completely fully developed, which doesn't even take place till 25. People don't know who they are. A 7-year-old, people don't even give their 7-year-old phones. You don't let them vote. You're going to let them decide what sex they're going to be for the rest of their life?
Joe states that kids shouldn't be allowed to make life-changing decisions like changing their gender, but Adam disagrees.
I have a friend who has a trans kid. He's explained that my child from a very young age consistently said, I am a girl. And has never contradicted themselves, never changed their mind. And so the humane thing, and the thing that he felt was good to do as a parent, was to embrace that choice on his child's part, right?
Embrace that choice meaning hormonally.
I shouldn't even phrase it as a choice, embrace that identity.
Once again, Joe continues to challenge Adam's perspective by proposing a simple question, and this is where Adam completely falls apart.
Okay, but if that's who they are, if they think that they're a girl, why do you have to give them hormones to make them more of a girl?
Because... I'm sorry, can you expand on the question?
It's a simple question. If you say that the child thinks it's a girl, so you're going to give the child hormones.
Mm-hmm.
If the child thinks it's a girl, let it be a girl. You don't have... Why are you adding hormones? If you're shooting hormones into a child... and you're affecting the child's development, you're saying that's not a choice. That's nonsense. Of course it's a choice. You're choosing to chemically change this child's body, and you're saying that this isn't a choice. Well, it's definitely a choice to do that.
While watching Joe slowly dismantle Adam was very satisfying, things wouldn't be as easy when he went head-to-head with Thaddeus Russell, arguing over whether gender is even a real thing.
What I'm saying is, no one was born anything.
What? You're losing me in a huge way.
Why?
You don't think that some women are born women, and you don't think you're born a man?
No.
What are you born? Why are you a man?
For all sorts of reasons.
While Thaddeus believes that gender doesn't exist and no one is born as anything, Joe follows by asking a challenging question.
We're talking about no one is born a man? You're not born a man? I'm not born a man?
I'm saying that, I think
we're getting silly.
Hold on here. I think it's the category of man becomes meaningless.
Does it?
Yeah, we just did this, man.
No, we didn't. We
Why?
definitely didn't do it.
As Thaddeus becomes more and more defensive, Joe continues to press the issue by listing several natural characteristics of men.
Like saying a guy who is born a guy who gravitates towards male activities, likes females, all those things, by saying that that's a man, that this is a born man. And you're saying, no one is.
Joe says that there are natural characteristics that most men have from birth, to which Thaddeus disagrees.
So if you're saying if those characteristics are naturally determined, then all of us guys who don't do those things are unnatural.
Which things are those?
All the things,
to women,
whatever it is that you characterize as being male, right?
But that's so common with males.
What is?
Being attracted to women,
Oh, really?
engaging in
Oh,
sex
really?
with women.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Have you heard of gay people?
Yes, it's a small percentage of the
mean?
population of men.
Thaddeus tries to say that since gay men aren't attracted to females, you can't categorize them as men.
Pretty damn. Oh,
Wait a minute. How many guys do you think that are
Pretty
attracted to women
big.
but still fuck men?
I think 30%.
What?
Yes.
30% of men fuck men?
Reached orgasm in a sexual experience with another man. Yes.
30%.
Yes. Yes.
After making the absurd claim that 30% of men are gay, Joe catches Thaddeus off guard with some quick thinking.
Still talking about a man that's having sex with other men. You're defining it such in that way. You're literally saying
No.
a guy.
You are.
You are saying you know guys who've sucked other guys' dicks. A guy who's
Right.
done it to a guy.
No, yeah.
You're saying a man do it to a man.
Gotcha. I gotcha. No, I'm saying that people who are identified as men
You didn't
by
say that,
society,
though, did
but that's
you?
what I meant.
Joe then completely ends the argument by stating that just because a man might be gay doesn't mean that they aren't still a man, which leaves Thaddeus at a complete loss for words.
No,
Which is attraction to
no.
women.
Most men, are attracted to women, but a good percentage of them are gay. This is not like complicated stuff. They're still men.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where to go from here. I mean, I think I've made the argument. It's
Moving on from gender, when Joe Rogan sat down with Pete Dominick, they quickly found themselves in a heated debate over gun control policies.
Our Constitution is also silly. Like, let's remake everything. There's so much better that we can do. Have a serious conversation about what kind of guns and bullets people can have. Everything gets regulated.
The conversation begins with Pete claiming that the American Constitution is silly and that there needs to be much more regulation with guns. But Joe responds by pointing out how difficult this would actually be.
Even if you made guns illegal, even if you said you can't have any bullets, you'll all go to jail. There's so many guns. You're not getting them all. It's not possible. There's more guns than there are people, which means there's more than 30 million guns?
Joe makes the point that there are more guns in America than there are people, and that it would be virtually impossible to get them all back. But Pete rebuts by proposing government buybacks as a potential solution.
So what do? I think you buy as many as you can back for sure. You spend a whole bunch of taxpayer money.
If you wanted to do that without changing the Second Amendment, like you just have a buyback where you just offer people the opportunity to make some money by giving their guns up.
Well, the Second Amendment has been interpreted wrong by the Supreme Court.
Joe continues to disagree with Pete, who then rudely interrupts Joe while he's speaking.
But
The
you
ammunition-
need to talk about the Second Amendment. I mean, it's a big conversation.
No, because
in this
people can have
country.
guns. You can have guns. The brick has a
I
right
know.
to have guns. You just
Okay,
can't
but-
have these guns.
There's something to that, but there's also something to the reason why we have so many cars. People like
For sure.
them.
I'll have that conversation.
People
We should
like
get rid of
them.
all the cars.
Okay.
After Pete says that we should try to get rid of all cars, Joe seems to question letting this guy on his podcast. However, Joe keeps his composure and continues to crush Pete's argument with effective logic and quick thinking.
The main issue is definitely the guns and the bullets in them.
Well, the main issue is the person that's capable of shooting people with the guns and the bullets.
No, it's the guns and the bullets.
The guns and the bullet are inanimate objects. Without a person pulling the trigger, we're talking nonsense here. They're not going to just shoot themselves. Don't you think the main problem is the person who actually shoots people?
After initially saying that guns and bullets are the problem, Pete continues to contradict himself and talk in circles by claiming that gun violence is actually now a healthcare issue.
Fine, whatever your interpretation is fine.
That's what's interesting
But
about
there's
it.
a human
it is
impact. It's a healthcare issue, and it's so extreme. It's really, if you want to know the answer to healthcare issues, you should talk to public health experts. They have those answers. They have the research. But
wait, hold on. What research? On what?
Well, they don't have
mass
enough research
murderers?
on. They don't have enough research on gun violence.
But what are you
unfortunately,
talking about then?
I'm talking about if you want to know the solutions for what is impacting and creating death by any measure, accidental death.
Right, but we're talking about gun violence, right?
Right.
What healthcare professionals have the solutions to gun violence?
As Pete continues to talk in circles, Joe maintained his composure and completely shut down Pete's arguments.